All right, why do you look like a mad scientist right now with the glasses and the hat? You look
Well,
like something's.
I'll tell you what. Here, is this better? Does it look like now we're in?
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and
Now you look like
the
you could
mad
go to the
scientist
skate park
thing,
with me.
the mad scientist thing is that Juliet and I are almost 50, and someone slammed the doors on my eyes, and so I got these glasses instead. And it really is useful because I was going to either have one of that Gattaca surgeries where you have to lengthen your arms, or I had a brain tumor or terrible allergies, and it turned out it was needing glasses.
So I've been fighting it, fighting it, and I think it's working. I think like forcing my eyes to like read stuff because I look at my friends and I'll grab their phone and I'm like, what is this 87 font? Like what? How big is this?
It
And
look
I've got it on the original and
just because your friends are now using the jitterbug phone, isn't that the phone for like old people? And I understand that. Literally though, I woke up one day because my dad died of a brain tumor. So I'm like, hey Juliet, I think I have a brain tumor. She's like, you probably don't have a brain
yeah.
tumor, hon. And I was like, no, I'm sure I'm a physical therapist. I'm like, I know brain tumors. And she was like, no. And I was like, maybe I have bad allergies. So I was literally stuffing Claritin in my mouth. I was huffing all of the nose drugs. And then it turned out I needed glasses. Just reading glasses. Don't get me wrong. I'm still like, I could still see you 2010, motherfucker. I could still crush you from across the room. But if it's up close, you're basically blurry.
Well, if I had my contact lenses out, I wouldn't know who you are right now.
I love you're like, I'm fighting it, except for this technology that's just really convenient. How are you, man?
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Well, I'm doing well. I'm glad to talk to you. I want to keep on this subject because there's something really funny here. I do have like, I do have I'm really nearsighted. So like without my contacts, I'm blind and I lose my contacts surfing sometimes. And I have to ask people, I'm like, can you show me which way the beach is like, because I don't want to paddle to China. So
Again,
do I go that way? But they said at a certain point you're going to need reading glasses too. And okay, so here's where it gets crazy.
that's a step too far. I understand that.
So Crazy Bobby, who I have on the show all the time, tells me that you can do eye exercises
That's
and
true.
you can, and I'm like, you're full of shit, blah, 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 blah. So I hear this guy on Sean Baker's podcast, Sean Baker, the
Yeah.
median guy, yeah, Carnival. And I hear this doctor on there that's claiming that, that the whole optometry institute is a scam and they've just forced people into glasses and that it's all exercises that we should do for our eyes and we can repair our eyes, blah, 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 blah. Then randomly, I get a message from him, from this guy. It's almost like he worked for Alexa, and saying, "Hey, I want to come on your podcast." So I do all my research about him because I'm like, this guy sounds like a scam artist. So, but I'm like, why would Dr. Sean Baker have him on? Isn't he? He's a doctor. Wouldn't he see through this bullshit? This must be legit. So I contacted a bunch of optometrists and ophthalmologists, and they were all like, yeah, the guy's full of shit. And I'm like, are you saying this because this is your business? You don't want to lose your business. But then I try to get a hold of the guy and he lives in like Costa Rica or something. And, and he's running this like training program out of Costa Rica that you pay up and he'll fix your eyesight. And so, needless to say, I didn't believe him, but my optometrist told me to keep my contacts, not get LASIK, because all of my buddies that I surf with have pterygiums, I think they're called.
Yeah,
Which are
pterygiums.
these little like gross little like zits on their eyes. And he said I won't get it because my contacts are polarized. And I'm like protecting my eyes from the sun by surfing out there with contact lenses in.
Well, here's what I think. I think there's probably some mid ground there. In the gym right now, we're trying to do everything. We're trying to work on every vector ray, load every tissue, strengthen every system, rotate, play, hydrate the fat. Like, it's insane what you're supposed to get done in 60 minutes, right? It's not like, hey, you deadlift, we tell some jokes, we do some cardio, go home. And the big problem is that you aren't going outside doing any sports anymore. Everyone is going to the gym, maybe, and then they're staring in front of their computer on their phone all day. And we've actually run this experiment with prisoners where you put prisoners in isolation. They have fixed depth gaze and their vision deteriorates because the eye is supposed to work. Just like you're saying, it's a muscle and you're supposed to squint and then you're supposed to look far and you're supposed to squint. You're supposed to play Frisbee and catch stuff and throw stuff and ride a mountain bike and look far and look close. We don't do that anymore. So on the one hand, we are seeing, and the research actually is that like kids' eyes are failing much, much earlier. But there is this something called aging. And I think that confounds this notion because your lens gets a little stiffer, it doesn't deform as well. And that, who knows, there's a lot of things that could go into that. But simultaneously, I don't know if you know this, but people have been wearing glasses for a long, long time. Definitely readers have been around for a minute. So I'm not saying that we should look at our historical data, but there are changes, and it's made compounded the fact that I don't think people are actually working their eyes at all. So I think that there is some low-hanging fruit to improve. Do you need a 4.0? Probably not. Do you need like maybe a reading glass temporarily? And does it make it easier to read? And sometimes leave your reading glasses at home, but I couldn't read a book right now, you know? And I'm aware of these things. There's an app called Glasses Off where you actually like follow this Gabor thing around and it just makes you perceive. Because I think people are their perception, you know, reading glasses are one thing, and then brain perception and processing is another thing. And so there's another aspect of that leg. Yes, your eyes are weak and soft. You have milquetoast eyes, which is the biggest insult you could possibly throw at a man. You have milquetoast eyes. And then simultaneously, you have a processing issue. And then that really sets us up for this greater conversation of like, well, should I just be living in a little 72-degree controlled environment and walking on flat surfaces? And do I not sit on the ground? And, you know, you can take that a step too far, of course. Like you need to do simulated hunts and you know, hunt your grass-fed meat in the store. And simultaneously, though, I think people don't go outside. You know, you're probably designed to get full UV light through your eyes your whole life. But a lot of us wear glasses 24/7 outdoors. Maybe that's part of the problem. You know, I just, you bring up a really interesting point. What is essential for us as humans to maintain our physicality and our physical beings? And then where are we losing the narrative on that?
Crazy Bobby said to me one day, he goes, "Why are you wearing sunglasses?" And I go, "I don't know." He goes, "Does a hawk wear sunglasses?"
Ooh, burns. I love it. I think, you know, that's, I really like that. I appreciate that line of thinking, actually, you know, on so many levels. Hawk, you know, there may be some error in your logic there, Bobby. But it is a good point that, you know, humans around, you know.
So one day I posted a video one day. I was mountain biking. I ran over a rattlesnake, like just screaming like as loud as I could. It was just in the middle of the path, went over it. And all I get is a text from Bobby that says, "Maybe if you didn't have sunglasses on, you would have seen the rattlesnake."
Well, it wasn't a problem for you. It was a problem for the second person behind you, right? That was the, you know, an avalanche is like you never go third or something like that. There's some, you know, you're fine to run over rattlesnakes, but he is right. I mean, the rattlesnake was wearing sunglasses. It couldn't see you either. That was the problem, right? Little snake glasses. Anyway, here we are trying to untangle this hot Gordian knot of humanness.
I'm going to give you another eye thing. So one day I come back from Costa Rica. I have a headache like I've never had in my life. I don't know what it is. And
guaro. It's the guaro.
Kind of like a sinus headache. And I was like, oh, you know what? I just, you know, surfed for 6 hours a day. My head's full of salt water. It just got up there, inflamed my sinuses, blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting on the toilet and I sneeze and a worm comes out of my nose. Like this big.
So are you saying I don't need glasses, I have worms? Is that what you're saying? Is that
Hold on. So I'm start to freak out. I put this worm in a plastic bag and I'm like, I think I should probably go to the emergency room. Like this is. And I got a buddy that I work out with at CrossFit Malibu who's an emergency room doctor. I call him and he surfs all the time. So he's been all over Mexico and Costa Rica. And he's like, "Whoa, dude, this is awesome."
Not what you want to hear.
No. And I'm like, "No, it's not." And he's like, "First of all, how big is it?" And I sent him a text. He goes, "That didn't go up there in Costa Rica. That went up there a long time ago." He goes, "That's pretty big." And he goes, "You sure it's a worm?" I'm like, "I think it's a worm." So I like wait another day. The next day, I'm walking out of the house, and all of a sudden it felt like I was on a mushroom trip. Like my eyes, everything started going like, like that I had to cover my eyes because I'm like, oh my God, like I'm about to faint. I can't understand why this is happening. And and then I go to my wife, I'm like, get in the car. I can't drive. Like I couldn't even open my eyes because the brightness was hurting them so badly. And I was like, I got like a brain eating amoeba or something. We got to get to the emergency room. So we're driving to the hospital. And emergency room's pretty far from where I live, but my optometrist is on the way, and I'm buddies with him. I go, pull over, and I run in and I go, dude, I go, my eye. And so as soon as I'm done, he goes, yeah, he goes, I think you had this thing. I think it's called an aurora or something. And he's like, you like a sinus? Yeah. He goes, it's not uncommon. You probably never get it again. You might get it again. It's no big deal. And I was like, it's not the worm. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I would still go get checked. And so I go to the emergency room. I give them the worm, and the doctor's looking at me. He's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, look at this thing. Look at this. He's like, pretty much, it's nothing. He's like, that's like phlegm. I'm like, it's not phlegm. Feel it. And he's like, I'm not going to feel it, but I'm telling you, it's not phlegm. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's a worm crawled up my nose in Costa Rica.
Sir, this is Dennis.
So he doesn't call me back for days. And I'm like, should I say goodbye to my children? Should I what's happening? Do I have a brain tumor? And the guy calls me back like a week later. He's like, oh, by the way, the test came back. That was nothing. I'm like, what do you mean it was nothing? He's like, it's nothing. It's not phlegm. It's not a worm. It's not an organ. It's phlegm. And I'm like, that was the weirdest booger that ever came out of my nose ever.
And if you'd had glasses, you would have seen it was like seaweed.
Yeah, exactly.